Let's shoot this video professionally when we do it next time I'm in Dubai in a couple of weeks' time. But I just want to give you a taster of what I think this could become. So this is for India, and India has over the last couple of years seen an amazing stock market bull run. It's really running high, and it's on a global scale. It's actually a big deal. And it's certainly a big deal for our customers in India. So I think it's an interesting thing to talk about. So there are now 100 million shareholders in India. And 5 years ago, that was 10 million. So it's an incredible increase from 10 million 5 years ago in year 2020 to 100 million shareholders today. And that's from a population of 1.5 billion. So out of 1.5 billion, 100 million people are now shareholders. That's a really big change, and that's growing super fast. One of the key things that has caused that change is that the sign up now to brokerages is super fast. It's a very simple sign up process, whereas 5 years ago there was still typically a 40-page brokerage client agreement that needed to be signed by people. But there's more, and there's also an underlying trend within Indian society as a whole, where in the past, from 1947 to 2020, all the big projects in India were done with government involvement, whereas now there's a structural change in the way that India's capital markets work, where there's easy access to financial markets for retail investors, and consequently, partly because of more and more deals being done by big companies without involving the government, and partly because of the general population becoming involved in investments. There's big structural change to the way that people invest in India, and it's a global scale change. It's not a small change. It's not a change only within India. Relative to the rest of the world, it's actually big. So in 2019, there were about 36 million trading accounts held by retail customers in India, whereas now there are 154 million retail accounts held by customers in India. Typically, customers have one or two accounts, so 154 million accounts translates to 100 million people who actually have trading accounts. And in 2019, only 2% of all the derivative contracts were held by retail clients, whereas now more than 41% of derivative contracts are held by retail clients. So derivatives have really become something big. And if you look at the global derivatives markets on stock exchanges, then more than 60% of all the global derivatives contracts held at stock exchanges are now held by retail clients in India. That's a huge number. And this is growing. I mean, India is showing like between 6 and 9% GDP growth per year. So it's growing very quickly. And these retail accounts are 50-50 split between people's investing via mutual funds and investing directly themselves in the stock market. The mutual funds, the way that they do that is with something called SIPs. So that means systematic investment plan. And essentially what you do with a SIP, with a mutual fund, is that you commit, say, $250 per month or some such as your monthly investment, and then the mutual fund invests on your behalf. So SIPs are super popular, and even small retail clients are choosing SIPs with, say, $100 a month or something like that. That's something that just ticks in. That's a product idea that we could use ourselves. I think it's something that we should think really hard about, whether or not we can do that, whether or not we want to do that. The other half, the other 50% of all that stuff is where new fintechs are leveraging India's digital stack to provide financial services, specifically investments into derivatives and in the stock market. And so proof of address, proof of identity, all that stuff exists in India's digital stacks, makes it very easy for fintechs. In my talk that we record professionally in Dubai. I'm not going to talk much about that, but just so that we know that's the way that works. And this is fueled by social media, fueled by apps. A lot of the investments now are happening via apps. That's a big change. Social media influencers have an enormous role in pushing this. And linked to this thing about apps and social media influencers, 75% of all the retail accounts are held by people who are younger than 40 years of age. So this is a young cohort of people that are investing like this. And there's more. So in the past, people used to put all their money in the bank, and in 2013, about 2/3 of all the money that retail clients had was held in banks. Now, only 45% or less of retail clients' savings are held in banks. So that doesn't sound like a big change, moving from 65% to 45%, but that's a really big change, because we have to think about those percentage terms in terms of India's GDP, where India's GDP is about 3.6 maybe trillion dollars today, and it will be 7 trillion quite shortly. So those are big numbers. And now 7% of household savings go directly into capital markets. In 2030, it's forecasted that 15% of household savings will go into capital markets. And in that case, you need to think about $7 trillion times maybe, 20% of that being household savings going into the capital markets. So the Indian capital market structure and size is changing very quickly. It's a really big change. Some of this is because debt capital is coming into play. So talking to bankers, say 10 years ago, all the bankers would complain that people are storing their money in the sofa at home, or they're storing their money in physical gold or something. That's come out, and it's now come into play. That means new risk, and means a new role for the regulators. There's a strong underlying growth in India. On top of this, so all of this together means that the amount of money coming into capital markets is growing very quickly. Anika Sharma, one of our traders in India who's new to trading, said that a little exposure is always good, and that was her rationale for investing into CFDs via Star Trader. So a lot of capital is coming into play. From Star Trader's perspective, this is huge, because we can offer all these traders the ability to trade under multiple licenses, SCA, FCA, ASIC, and so forth, Seychelles, South Africa. We have so many licenses. It's a wonderful thing. And product-wise, we have everything that these traders want. We have copy trade, we have PAM, we have straight trading by yourself, and MT4, MT5. There's so much that we can offer. There's so much that's available from us. Our app is fantastic. It's probably the best app in the market right now. The IB portal we have is simply beautiful. We provide training, education, help people get in. It's really powerful stuff. So yeah, get on board. Welcome.